This is our 7-figure business building. If you're listening as part of the podcast, then I encourage you to come with us live on Thursday night so you can get your questions answered and be a part of shaping the content. All right. Today, we're specifically going to talk about how to make your first $1,000 with virtual summits. Now, I do want to qualify. You're going to find out in a few minutes, some people do virtual summits and they're really not in it for the money. Okay. So if you're in it for the money, we're going to talk about how to make the money. If you're in it for another reason, we're also going to talk about how to be successful in those reasons. So money is just one measure of success. It's a very clear one, but it's really just one measure of success. And what I teach you today is going to be a way. It may not necessarily be the way. In fact, I believe that there's no one right way except the way. But we're not talking about him right now. We're talking about virtual summits. Okay. So just a few announcements. I'm going to talk to you about our upcoming Juneteenth conference. I'm also going to talk to you about, I'm just going to kind of plant the seed for our Women's Wealth Tour that's coming soon. We just did one in Tampa. Well, that was not really Tampa. Well, I'll explain that some other time. But we also have one coming up in Georgia. We're going to be in Macon, Georgia, and I need to get some more details on that before I can share it with you. But the biggest announcement I'm going to have for you today is about our Juneteenth conference. We're also going to talk a little summary of what building wealth together is, and then we're going to dig right into our content tonight. We're going to talk about the crucial mistakes that eat away your profit. We're going to talk about how you need to find your value path. We're going to talk about how to fill seats, and then I'm going to give you a warning. Now, the cool thing about everything that I teach you is I always give you an application and next steps, and today is no different. Okay, so the announcement that I want to make, I've already placed a bug in your ear about the upcoming Women's Wealth Workshop that's going to be in Macon. We're trying to plan out our Women's Wealth Conference for the end of the year. I really want to do something special, but let me tell you, if you can't make it out this year, you gotta. If you cannot make it, it'll be our 11th annual Women Building Wealth Together conference, which we have rebranded and renamed, and I keep forgetting to use the new name, but it's the Women's Wealth Summit, the Women's Wealth Tour. Okay, if you can't make it this year, I get it, but you gotta make it next year. Next year is going to be our 12th year, and 12 is a very special number for me. So we are going to make it the big blowout we never did have at our 10th anniversary. All right. So this coming year, 2025, is our, can you believe it? It is our 11th annual conference. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it. I do believe it because I'm living it. All right. But the announcement that I want to share with you today is for Juneteenth Legacy. We have a lot of historic events going on. Even if you are not somebody who considers Juneteenth to be a valid holiday, and some of you are like, what is she talking about? Okay. I live in an area of the country where Juneteenth is not a thing. And so it should be a thing because it's the state where Juneteenth happened. But to the day in and day out life of people where I live, Juneteenth and what happened in Juneteenth is really of no consequence to their lives. And so I do try to be cognizant of that. And so I want to acknowledge that for many people, it's like, well, many people where I live, it's like, why is this important? And so even if you don't think it's important, I encourage you to sign up anyway, because you will begin to see why it's important to somebody with my background and my heritage. Okay. So we have the upcoming Juneteenth Legacy Summit. We're going to do the historic walk with Opal Lee. She'll be 90 years young this year. She's the grandmother of Juneteenth. I'm also trying to work a visit to her farm for Wednesday, the 18th. But our opening keynote at 11 a.m. Thursday is going to be Dr. George Fraser. We are also going to have Dr. Boyce Watkins. We are going to have Brother Bedford. You're going to have your girl, JJ Conway. And I hope we'll have lots of you in the venue speaking, on the Zoom speaking, or in the Black Wall Street area vending. Okay. We're also going to attend a real life cattle run in Fort Worth, and we're going to attend the inaugural National Freedom Vibes Festival that is put on by the National Juneteenth Museum that will be opening soon. Okay. So that's my announcement that I really would like for you to support. Even if you're somebody who doesn't understand why it's important, perhaps coming to my conference will help you understand why it's so important to many people who live outside of this region. All right. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about tonight is virtual summits. And, I have neglected to do this the last couple times that we've done Thursday nights. I just want to give people an overview of what our Building Wealth Together trainings are all about. This isn't about get rich quick. This is about getting rich right. There are a lot of different right ways to build wealth, but we're not taking shortcuts at the expense of relationships or doing right by people. Okay, we're going to conduct ourselves with education, ethics, and accountability. And so what we offer at Building Wealth Together training is we're offering the education and we're helping you develop solutions. Okay, so we're not coming in with a hammer acting like everything's a nail and you just got to buy what we're selling. We're looking for solutions to your problems to help you make more money, spend less money, and invest the difference. All right. My 2 promises at every training: you're going to learn something you can implement tonight, and you will, if you so desire, get an opportunity to dig deeper. Now, this is not a sales trick. This is not a sales ploy, but the reality is, in just an hour of training or however long this ends up being, I am really not going to be able to pack in everything that I would like to share with you. And so it's important to know that if this is something that's really interesting to you, if this content is speaking to your heart, I want to provide you someone who is ethical and who really cares about you and is really going to take good care of you as a student on their campus so that you can absolutely learn these concepts and go forth and do and be successful. That's what I want for you. My very first virtual summit was very successful. And I found out that many people selling courses on how to put together a successful summit were not successful. And one of the ways I found this out is because I spoke at one that flopped. And even though it flopped, I was invited to be part of the leadership team for the next one. Even though it flopped, they went out and sold a course on how to do your virtual summit. 100% of the success of that summit to accomplish the goals of those creators was simply in selling a course on how to do virtual summits. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. That's why I started teaching this course, because I'm like, you need to learn from somebody that's actually done the thing. All right. And I've done the thing. Okay. And we're going to start with the crucial first step. See, a lot of times when I hear someone come to me with an idea, they start with all this big stuff. Oh, we're going to do this. And we're going to make all this money. And we're going to do blah, 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 blah. But they don't start with the very first step. And it's especially a crucial first step if you are working with somebody else. If you are working with a team or you are working with a partner to do your very first virtual summit or your second or third, let me go back to me. Okay, your first virtual summit was a real success. And so you're like, oh, let's expand this. Let's bring in some people. Let's get a team together so we're not doing everything. Okay, I've made this mistake. Let's bring a team in. And then you bring the team in, and now you don't do this very crucial first step. It can completely derail your virtual summit process. And the very first, most crucial step you have got to do when it comes to these virtual summits, and really any other summit or conference you put together or book you write or chapter you write, or wow, it sounds just about like everything. The most crucial first step that you need to do, you need to figure out why you are hosting a virtual summit. You need to figure out why it is that you are doing what you do. Because sometimes we don't realize that the why necessarily informs the how. We miss this crucial first step of determining our why. And because we miss this crucial step of determining our why, we go down all these rabbit trails of things that don't apply to our success. And then we're so diluted in our energy that we don't focus our energy on the success we want to have that meets the why. And so everybody seems to assume that when we have a virtual summit, the goal is to make money. Making money is great. Okay, making money is wonderful. I love making money. Would you like to spend some of your money? You can send some of your money to me, Queen of Cash Flow, at Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, Vimeo. No, not Zelle, not Zelle, not Vimeo. Whatever the V1 is, you can send your money to Queen of Cash Flow. I will accept birthday blessings all month long. All right. But money is not the be all and end all of life. It makes life a lot nicer. I ain't gonna lie about it, all right? But it's not the be all and end all of life. There are other reasons that you might want to have a virtual summit. If you are hosting a summit with multiple people, and the last time I was brought in to consult with somebody who wanted to host a virtual summit with a committee, every single person on that committee had a different goal of how that virtual summit was going to help them with their goals. And they had never sat down and mashed all the goals together and created a goal that they could live with. And what really broke my heart is the person who brought me in had a very successful first summit, brought in a team to kind of expand the work, which is smart. But then because they weren't organized and they weren't in unity, they began to tear things apart, and people began to not do their part, and people began to strike out on their own, and it just became a big mess. And so one of the things that I had tried to do with them early on is get them to come together for unity. What is it that this group wants? Because you have what you want, you have what she wants, you have what he wants. But as a group, what do we want? And we were able to walk through that. And I had high hopes for it because it really was a phenomenal event. It was high quality people working in this event. And I mean, just amazing businesses. Like, I really wanted it to succeed. We came up with shared goals, but guess what didn't happen? Everybody didn't buy in the shared goals. They just kind of nodded their head because the leader brought in JJ Conway, and they wanted to nod their head and get through the training and get through this and get through that and get to what they really wanted, which was to make money, or get through what they really wanted, which was to monopolize the conference with their content, or would they get to what they really wanted, which was to get access to all the emails of everybody who registered. And so, are those bad goals? Okay, monopolizing the event, monopolizing an event that's not your own event, that's not, I can't get with that. But is it wrong to say I want to have a virtual summit to build my email list? Of course you want a virtual summit to build your email list. Like, that's one of the biggest blessings from doing a virtual summit. Was that wrong? It's not wrong. But if the shared group said, we are doing this because we want to spread awareness about blah, blah, blah social issue, and you're so focused on collecting emails that you take out Facebook ads about collecting the emails, and you do this and do this and do this and do this with the purpose of collecting emails, and you're turning people off because you didn't listen to JJ Conway, who said when you collect emails, give them something of value, because all you wanted was to collect emails. And then you didn't collect emails because you didn't offer something of value, and you turned people off, and now you couldn't even spread awareness about the event, about the social topic. And I felt so bad for the person who hired me. And I told them, I see the handwriting on the wall here, and we're people of our word, and we'll do what we got to do. But next year, I recommend you keep doing them by yourself until you can get a team of loyal followers, people who are going to be with you because they've been blessed by your work and they want to help your program go over. I have people that help my programs go over, and I have helped other people's programs go over. Not because I'm self-serving. I mean, don't get me wrong. I get something out of it. Like when I go help so-and-so's events, I am going to get a picture of me on that stage. One way or another, there's going to be a picture of me on that stage with a microphone if I have to bring it myself. And don't you think that there are times I travel with the microphone for the express purpose of getting my shot because I volunteered at your conference? Hey, yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. It's called strategic thinking, right? But I'm not going to get my microphone shot at the expense of that person's conference, because I'm there to support their goals. Okay, so the very most crucial first step that people don't spend enough time on is figuring out your why. Why do you want to have this event? Okay. Are you trying to generate revenue? That's a big one for most of us. I need to make some money, and this should be a way for me to make some money with very little to no actual outlay and cost. Okay. Am I trying to gain exposure? Am I trying to build my list? Am I trying to get people to see who I am and get to know about me and my expertise? Okay. Speaking of expertise, am I holding an event trying to build higher networks and connections? You know, there are events that I have hosted, virtual or in person or hybrid, that I knew I was going to lose money on that event. But I also knew I was going to gain connection to somebody who was going to help me succeed. Somebody with high earnings, somebody high powered, somebody with high connections to open up doors for me. And it was worth it to me to lose the money on the conference to gain the relationship with someone who I admired. And that model has served me very well. It may not be why you are doing what you are doing, but you need to know if that's somebody else's goal that's helping you plan it. Because if your goal is to make money and their goal is to make connections, they may make decisions that are going to sacrifice the amount of profit you can make because they want to impress the connections. Keep that in mind. Okay. Keep that in mind. Another reason that is popular in hosting a virtual summit is to establish credibility. Okay. So I remember when I first started my financial coaching business, I was still active duty in the military, and I had some credibility as a speaker. I spoke, my very first speaking event was the National Society of Black Physicists. And it was the first time I had spoken, other than church, it was the first time I had spoken to a group that wasn't like my day job in the military. And so I was like, oh, this is great. So I started speaking in that kind of a capacity, and I loved doing it. But when it came to finances, I really didn't feel like I had a whole lot of credibility. And I didn't know that about myself, to be honest with you. I didn't know that that's why I was sabotaging my business until I hired a business coach. And that business coach pointed out, and he was like, you've got all this knowledge. You've climbed out of all this debt. You have this certification and that certification. He said, you know 99% more than any other financial coach on the planet. And yet you don't feel like your time is valuable, and you don't feel like people will listen to you. And you know what? He was right. I didn't feel like people would listen to me. And so I went through the program, and he was connected to the Ramsey ecosystem, the Dave Ramsey ecosystem. And so I went to their training. And one of the things that in the late hours night, you know, whatever has happened since then, one thing I really appreciate is that when I went through that training years ago, Chris Hogan and Les Nenow sat with us every night after our main sessions in the hotel lobby, answering our questions. And one of the things that Les said to me, he said, you need to get yourself on stages and on podcasts and on radio and all those things. And he said, and I said, well, what if no one will hire me? He said, if no one will hire you, then create your own stage. And that's why Building Wealth Together started in 2014. Because I realized nobody was hiring me. Now, had I had higher confidence at the time, they probably would have hired me, but I didn't have the confidence, and I just didn't have the experience. And so created the stage. There are some things that you can do with your virtual summit or even in-person summit or other things that will help increase your credibility and position you as the expert in what you do. And so don't underestimate that power. But again, remember, you want to be clear. If you are planning this event with other people, you need to understand what it is they want, because somebody who is trying to boost their credibility may not be aligned with you trying to boost your revenue, or this next one that we're going to talk about, which is impacting lives. You want to help change lives. You're not worried about the money. You're not worried about the connections. You want to see real results out of this conference. When people give you testimonials. You want to hear how somebody was inspired to leave their toxic relationship. You want to hear how somebody was inspired to go back to school and now they have a better job. You want to hear how somebody was inspired to spend 20 minutes a day just focused one-on-one with each kid, and what an amazing world of difference that made in their family dynamic. Like, yes, money is great. Yes, influence is great. Yes, connections are great. Yes, establishing myself as the credible person in this or that field is great. But at the end of the day, if lives aren't changed, it isn't a success for me. If lives aren't changed, I don't feel good about that event. I would prefer that you both change lives and make money, but that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day. So I just gave you 5 common big whys. And if you are in my event where we talk about hosting in-person events, guess what? Guess what? You're going to see the same 5 paths, because they're the same 5 paths for every event, right? And now there are other paths. It's all about what's important to you. But the why is going to inform the path you take to create the event. So we named this training How to Make Your First $1,000 with Virtual Summits. So if your goal is revenue, we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. We're not going to talk so much about the others unless somebody drops a question in the chat. I will always stay on and answer every last chat question before I get off or close off the broadcast. Okay. But if you don't ask me any questions about these other ones, other than the stories I've already told, we're probably not going to talk much about them. Okay. But if I'm I'm hosting an event and I want to earn revenue, there are a couple different ways I can go about it. And there's so many different tools out there. There's so many different software packages that you could broadcast on. I mean, you could use Zoom. Zoom is free for 40 minutes, right? You could use there's other software out there. I'm not going to start naming some, because honestly, I've been a little frustrated with a lot of the platforms that I use, because they keep hiking up their prices and they're not adding a whole lot of extra value to make it worth it. And it's just like they're just doubling their prices because they think they can. And then you got a group of us that are like, oh yeah, we'll develop our own thing. Thank you very much, And so as a quick aside, if you are looking for an all-in-one solution that is like a course platform, don't buy another thing unless you absolutely need to. I have got coming down the pike. I am a founding member, and the public link is going to be released soon, of a new software that will replace school, or some of these others like Thinkific or Teachable or Udemy or some of those things. Now, it may not have the connection of a Udemy to all these different people and all these different creators, but it's the similar concept that will allow you to get your stuff out, and you build your landing pages and your email and all that stuff. But this one's specifically focused on courses. So even though it has all those other things, it's not like a funnel system that allows you to do a little bit of courses. This is a course system that has the funnels and the email and all the other things. Okay. So anyway, but don't spend money on that. Okay. There are a lot of different ways that you can do your, there are a lot of different ways that you can host your platform, a lot of different platforms on which you can host your event without spending any money. There are also some ones that you can use that cost big bucks. There's one that I bought into, a lifetime offer I bought into a long time ago. It's really amazing. I think the lifetime offer was like $150. It is one of the most amazing conference platforms you've ever seen. Why don't you ever see me use it anymore? Because it doesn't play nice with Facebook, and it really doesn't play nice with YouTube. And most of my online events, they get broadcast to YouTube. I'm going to need you to play nice with YouTube, so every so often I try them back out to see if they've upgraded and elevated, but they're focused on people all over the world. And so, my little slice of rural Texas, I guess they don't care that it doesn't work on YouTube, but I'm not about to have any strikes on my YouTube channel. I make too much money off my YouTube channel. All right. So, You can go big with some of these other, I mean, there are like Hoover was popular for a while, but it was so expensive. There's another one called Hopin that we use in John Maxwell team. Really neat one. I don't know which one Women in Cloud uses, but it is the most amazing course, amazing virtual summit platform I have ever used. There was one that I thought was even more featured, but it was so basic. How do I want to say that? There was one that had a feature I really liked, but the rest of it was nowhere near as good as the one that they use for Women in Cloud. But when I looked at the price to use the one that they had for Women in Cloud, I was like, yeah, nope, I'm not making that kind of money yet. But this software that they use for Women in Cloud is amazing. You show up at the tables and you have the round tables and you have your faces and you have all these other things. And this other one that somebody built, some intern built at one of the national labs, I don't even know if they still have it because I haven't been able to find it in the last 2 or 3 years. But it was like you moved your avatar around the conference floor. And as you got close to a booth, this is so cool, y'all. You heard them talking at the booth, and as you got closer to it, it got louder, just like a real event. And so you walked your person around with your mouse, and you went to these different places, and you talked to the booths, and then you went to the main stage, and I really enjoyed that. But now I'm curious. Now I need to figure out where it is. So I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm just going to see if I can find it. Women in Cloud, Remo. That's what it's called, remo.co. You guys are going to love this. Why am I even showing you this? I should not show you this. If you're trying to make your first $1,000 with events, you probably don't need this. But now that I'm on it, it's one of those, I almost feel compulsive about sharing this with you because I've already mentioned it. Okay. All right. So you should be able to see this now. It's called Remo. It is one of the best I've ever used as far as a virtual event. This is what Women in Cloud uses for their event. And it's really great. If let's see if their pricing has come down some. Yeah. So I'm honestly, I host 2 or 3 events a year. I'm really not making enough that I want to pay $299 a month. Okay. But if I was, I love it. Uh-oh. Wait a second. Oh no. Remo is now part of events.com. Well, you know what that means. They're probably going to go downhill and downhill fast. Oh, that makes me so sad. If you haven't seen it already, I want you to go out to YouTube and look up Sherry's Berries versus Sherry's Berries. So many times when something really good gets acquired by somebody bigger, it goes downhill. But anyway, you don't need to pay $299 a month. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to pay $299 a month to host your virtual event, you can pay me $150 a month and I'll let you host it on my super amazing Zoom that I get through one of my professional organizations. I mean, I still pay I pay a good amount for it, but I don't pay $1,200 a year for it, which is what it's worth, and I can do 8-hour conferences and we can do all kinds of things. You can always find a way to do something in your budget. And if your budget is free, well, maybe you just do what you can for free. Okay. Because if you're trying to generate revenue and somebody comes and talks in your ear, go big or go home. If you don't bet on you, nobody else will. True statements. But guess what? If you don't have $299 a month, don't sign up. And don't sign up for that 14-day trial thinking you're going to cancel it on day 13. Because you and I both know you're going to forget to cancel. And you're going to get that first hit, $299. Oh, you're going to cancel real fast after you get that $299. But the damage is already done. And instead of making money, you've lost money. Okay. I have been the queen of losing money on stuff that I thought was going to help take my business to the next level. But that's why we have a spend plan. And that's why we set aside money to do those kinds of things. So I have the money set aside to lose. And now these days, I don't have as much money set aside to lose because I am trying to finalize this dissertation. So if you're listening to me, because in my last one, I said something and all these people have been filling my inbox. I'm going to let you know right now, don't try to sell me no more tools, because until I finish my doctorate, I'm not buying any more tools. All right. I'm not buying any more tools until I finish this dissertation. Okay. So let me go back to the slides, but I was sharing that with you because I wanted you to see the realm of the possible. Okay. That's a wonderful program. It's very highly professional. Absolutely one of the best I've ever used from both a user standpoint and as a speaker who participated. But if you don't have it, you don't have it. If your goal is to generate revenue, then you got to generate the revenue, not lose the revenue. And that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. Okay. A lot of people make that mistake. So if you're going to do a revenue, you're going to search after a revenue model, you have to determine why you're doing this. Why are you doing this? You're going to do revenue. Okay. Yes, you're going to do revenue, but why are you doing this? What are you going to give people that's going to make them want to give you their revenue? What are you going to speak to my heart that's going to make me come out of my pocket and give you my money in this tough economic time? There are a lot of different things that people need right now. And if you can hit that need, you will be able to have a win-win situation where they are blessing you financially and you are blessing them with your content. There's so many different things out there. I want to be able to show you more than just talk about the free version of Zoom, which you do have to be sure about that 40 minutes. Like if you're going to do Zoom and you're going to hop around 40 minutes here, 40 minutes there, make it a part of the plan. Build it in and make sure everybody has the links they need, because otherwise Zoom will cut you right off and your attendees will scatter. Okay. There are a couple places that you can find speakers. One of the most common ways to find speakers is going to be just putting something out there, or searching for people who speak and then clicking on their Facebook pages and inviting them. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really respond a lot to that. You can find speaker groups, but I would also look in the podcast groups. Okay. Because if you're doing a virtual summit, most podcast speakers are willing to speak in your virtual summit as well. They're just looking for exposure. They're looking for growing their audience or other things. And the groups that I use are free. Now, I am about to explore some of the podcast links, the podcast match websites that I used to use to find really good guests, but then a lot of them have switched to a paid model, and I haven't done that yet. But now that we've gotten the podcast back up and running like it's supposed to be, that I'm going to look into those again. And then, of course, I'm going to do a review on it so you'll know whether or not you should spend your money. But for now, I know that I have had great success using the free using the free Facebook groups or Reddit group or other groups like that. There are Facebook groups, and also on Reddit, there are groups where you can do find a guest, be a guest. Please do not pay for those. Okay. Once you make some money and you want to pay, you can pay. But my experience has been, other than some of the podcast match style websites that you pay for now that used to be free, I wouldn't waste your time paying for something if you haven't done it before and you haven't made any money. Now, what I would recommend is take the money you make from the first one and use it to upgrade the tools and your access to speakers for the next one. But if you have made a little bit of money, you can use those groups, and you can also use something called Speaker Match. Speaker Match, from what I understand, is free for planners. There's a cost for speakers, but it's free for planners. So if you want to go find speakers, you can use Speaker Match. You're going to have a higher level of speaker there. Now, you're also going to have speakers who are used to getting paid. So you don't have to pay them. You can put free, okay? But just be mindful that even if you put free, a lot of those speakers are actually going to ask you to pay them, and you don't have to, okay? If you're putting in free, you don't have to pay them. If you don't have the money, you don't have the money. But when it comes time to getting a higher quality speaker, you're going to look for one that can carry a larger audience, or maybe they have a greater following or anything like that. Now, just because I put in Speaker Match, I would be remiss if I didn't do one that's really been great for me. eSpeakers.com. You can search for speakers through eSpeakers, and it doesn't cost you to find a speaker. It does cost the speakers to be in eSpeakers. And if you book a paying job through eSpeakers, you do have a cut. But please, sir, please, ma'am, don't enroll to eSpeakers without talking to me, because even though I'm giving you the main link, you want to be able to get my link so that you can save some money on your pro account. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. If you are listening to me again as part of the Ladies of Wealth podcast, I hope you've enjoyed what I have presented with you today. And I hope you will text "I'm in" and join me for this class. Once we get the course fully built out, all the people who are in, we will invoice everybody who needs to be invoiced, and then we will collectively pick the best couple of dates to cover this material. I'm realizing that this is not going to just be a one-day thing. It's actually probably going to turn into a 2 or 3 day thing, because I have so many more things I want to share with you. Next week will be real estate, but the week after that, we're going to be our empowered entrepreneur. And that's also going into this course package. And so it's going to be really phenomenal. It's going to be unlike anything else I've ever put together. And you are going to grow. You are going to double your income. You're going to double your influence. It's going to be amazing. And I can't wait to see you do it. And I'm excited to be a part of your journey as you do.